Today is May 17th, 2019. I'm going to do a quick Hobbit Garden update. It's been quite the last week. We've had a few days of sun, and all of a sudden we have gone from 60 to the mid 80s in temperatures. And in the greenhouse, I put up a curtain inside to help kind of break the heat a little bit, keep the sun off of some of my stuff, and hopefully keep it from melting. It'll actually get so hot in here that it'll melt those black containers for plants. And so anyway, right now the temperature is already up to 97 in the greenhouse. It doesn't actually feel that bad in here, but anyway, it kind of goes scorched. I had a couple of my peppers get, I don't know, dried out, scorched in just a few hours a couple days ago, so it looks like I lost those. Well, there's tons I could talk about and tons that are happening. Here, let's go through the greenhouse, and I think tomorrow it's actually supposed to rain, so that's good. But today is again a very warm day, and it's so funny because like a week ago it was getting down into the 40s. Down to like 44 at night, and then during the days it was getting up to 60. But now it's 85 and getting down to 65 or something like that at night. And I think last night I actually turned the fan on, kind of get some air circulating inside. So that kind of lets you know. Again, I have been fighting like crazy maple seeds. A crazy amount of maple seeds have been falling. Maple and Rosa Sharon up is some basil. Now, they weren't getting big in the pot. Outside they were all very close together, all clumped together. So I potted them up a couple days ago, but it looks like a good third of them are already dead. They were small plants to start with, and then some of them are making it. Look, these guys in the larger 4-inch cups are doing better, but look, boom, boom, dead, dried up. Nothing's ever, I don't know. Those tomatoes never did pop up. And these were my second, I started these in April. Because I had such trouble with tomatoes, I thought I would try some more. But I did get a lot of volunteers, so I still have those. Kind of looks like it's not doing much. Now, you can see these watermelon here. I did pot those up. You see behind. So I potted up some watermelon and some cantaloupe. Now, I had taken some fresh cantaloupe seed from a cantaloupe a couple weeks ago, and I planted them, and those came up within a week. They were so energetic. So this is kind of what the greenhouse looks like. And let's see if anything's happening in here. This is watermelon. Now, the watermelon likes to come up in the heat, so maybe those seeds aren't any good, because they've been in the ground a while. So the mint is is doing good. Some of this lettuce is doing very nice, as you can see. And look at the flowers. Isn't that pretty? That's one of my herbs. Which one is it? Here, I'll put the name on the screen. So that looks nice. That lettuce, I need to eat some of it. That looks fantastic. Now, this mint, different types, chocolate mint, orange mint, and for my nephew, I got some spearmint. We pulled them up as weeds and I planted them, and they they're so strong, so resilient, the mint is. So look at that. That's fantastic. I use some of that in my tea. Now, these onions, I think these are the Texan onions. So these should become large. Look how healthy they are. And then the leeks and whatever that is, some of it's onion over there, that the second you can see they're going to seed. You see that? Do I want those seeds? I may have to come up and just snip them, because if you don't, the bulbs will become woody very quick. In fact, it may be too late. So the corn is coming up. Look at that. Now, I tried to grow plants inside of those little... It was actually pretty much a disaster. The plants that are coming up in there is a type of lettuce, and it's not the seed that I wanted to come up inside of those. That was a waste of effort trying to plant, for me, trying to grow seeds inside of those milk cartons. It's so late in the year anyway. By now they should have been up months ago, but anyway. So the marigolds are coming along. You can see my beans are getting eaten. It looks like I'm only getting those watermelon in the middle to come up. And they don't even look like they're doing very well. But the peas, I think I must have had old pea seeds. Now the tomato plants are looking very nice though. Now I put a little, as you can see, a little ring. It's actually that's from a 2-liter soda bottle. I just cut off the top and bottom, and that's to help keep some of the insects away and worms that like to come and eat on the plants. I'm just this is the first year I've done that. So I think those are cucumbers in there. When I fill that, I just flood those plants with water and let the water soak down when I watered that. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. I saw somebody on YouTube who was talking about worms that were taking out their some of their plants, and they had put a little container around them to help them to stay alive. And I've had trouble with different insects killing some of my young, especially my cucumbers. At least last year it was a war. Hopefully this year I'll win that war and get some nice cucumbers. Look at that. That squash plant. That's looking nice. These red cabbage, wow. They really are spreading out. And my potatoes, I've never had potatoes that looked any healthier than those. Look at that. So I've got potatoes here, and potatoes and mustard there. And you can see how I overplanted those carrots. So, you know, you're supposed to thin them. We'll see. So that's kind of what's happening out front. Now, I did get some, here, can you see this? Flowers on the peas. So those are the first flowers that I've had on peas. So I'm going to get flowers. So now I transplanted this lettuce in here because I had it over there all bunched up, and so I put that in, and then look, all of those I think one day I came in here and I didn't see anything growing, so I planted cucumbers. I'm pretty sure these are all cucumbers. I planted cucumbers like crazy all through here, so that's fantastic. It's either cucumbers or cantaloupe. We'll know for sure when the leaves on them come out. So the potatoes are popping through. Now this is where you see that basil here. You can see that this is where I dug up the basil to transplant it, because it was all clumped together. But some of this basil looks like it's getting bigger. So what I need to do is do that again, and the basil that died in there, and replant them. That's part of the reason I always do more than I need. Look at this. So this here, we've got potato in the middle, and then that is actually a radish, one of those white radishes. I don't know if it looks kind of puny still. They're supposed to grow fast, but it's been a while since they've been in the ground. Okay. Looks like I need to water this. Now I also transplanted some of my curly mustard. Now curly mustard, you see that? Doesn't look so nice. But the curly mustard is very nice. It tastes like the hot mustard that you get at Chinese restaurants. So it's not just mustard, it's the, see, this is curly mustard struggling. See what I mean? Look at this. Now this is edible. This is actually a nice lettuce. You can see how thick it is. Now I didn't plant that in here. I think I planted some other seed. But that's what I'm getting. Look at this. All of them. But this is edible, so that's not a total loss. You see that? Anyway, my first run at trying to make these into greenhouses and doing that over the winter has been a total fail. Now you can see, actually this one I grew from seed. It needs to get planted out. So this week that'll get planted out. You see this? Catnip. Now, that's actually supposed to be pretty healthy for you. They say it's a type of mint. So it's supposed to, certain cats really go crazy over that, the oil from that. And look, so I have at least one basil success coming on. And then look, this pepper is not, see, I didn't have that in the greenhouse. But you can see things are struggling. I need to water stuff. And now a week ago, there was so much water in these that it was, 2-3 inches deep. Now here, catnip. It seems to be making, this is the first year I've ever grown catnip. Or at least first year I've ever got it to sprout. Look at that. So a lot of these volunteer tomatoes coming along. And the wind keeps blowing. This has to be planted out. That red cabbage is beyond that kind of stage. The wind keeps blowing it over. Okay, those are how the little plants are looking. Look at this. The potatoes in these buckets are looking very nice. There's also some nasturtium. Now in here I tried to plant, I'm pretty sure it's cucumbers. So I have one coming up. So we'll see what happens. Now I'm going to bring out plants to this table. So again, this grapevine. Look at that. It's going like crazy, but I don't see any fruit on it of any sort. So, but the leaf does look like grape to me. Now you can see the onions here, and again you see the cucumber in there. So I am going to have a few cucumbers. We'll see how they do as the heat comes on and the insects attack them. But I pray I get a lot of cucumbers this year. So I'm getting a few. Now these tomatoes I actually transplanted to this spot, and then I have some volunteer tomatoes in here. Okay, and again the tomatoes, if you can notice that tomato bush has some flowers, and so does that one. So I'm getting some flowers on my tomatoes, so that means I'll have fruit here in a few weeks. I don't know what to say about the apple tree. I did see a small apple the other day, but not lots. Maybe one or two. Kind of disappointing, but look at this peach. Peaches all over the place. Now again, this mustard is going like crazy. Now mustard is also a green manure, so I could dig that in, and I probably should, and then in a week or so come out here and plant maybe some melons or something. Trouble is out here is that the watering is a little bit difficult. Now this is my patch of curly mustard. As you see, I've dug up some of this curly mustard and transplanted it in hopes of getting it to, get bigger. Now I did, look at this. I did really dig this plot up around my meter a couple weeks ago, and I did plant out a couple of plants, but look, all those weeds and vines. I think that's morning glory. Morning glory is a nightmare. You just can't dig it up once. There must be a way to get rid of it, but I don't know, other than just totally covering the area and smothering the weeds. I don't know. And that's a process. Now looky here. Now these were some squash, and I think this is actually cucumber. The leaf kind of looks cucumber. You can see how wet the soil is around there. I came and flooded that yesterday, and today, see, yesterday that leaf was below the plastic rim, or just at the top, but look at that, it's grown 3 inches overnight. So I'm in the backyard, and I'm showing you these squash. They seem to be doing pretty good. I've got a little bit of flowering, but look, can you see this? A maple tree, or at least a sprout. Yesterday I came out, and no doubt, can you see that? You see the seed there? Anyway, yesterday I picked at least 100 or so of those maple trees. They're sprouting. Now I still haven't planted most of the back garden yet, so I'll probably plant some of those cantaloupe back here and watermelon, and we'll see, maybe some of the basil. But I like basil in pots, so we'll see what happens there. The onions. Now I've actually worked quite a bit on this bed. There was lots and lots of sprouts, and I still have volunteer tomatoes in here, but I also picked lots and lots of volunteer tomatoes. But so far I think I've left about 5 in there. I'm thinking about transplanting them. Otherwise I'll just dig them up and kill them. But I hate to do that. So this is what it looks like here. Look at that. Now this it's now becoming basically a cabbage pot. But look down in here. That mint. Now, I think mint likes kind of a bit of shady area, but I'm not totally. But look, there's enough sun that it keeps going. I hope it keeps making it. But look, you see how it's growing up? So who's going to win? The mint or the cabbage? Or are they both going to win? Now I do have some, can you see some of those pole beans have still made it, are still here. And you can see on the ground, see what I mean? All of those seeds, and you see those sprouts coming up. So I've got to do some work. Well, I'll be doing work back here, but these maple seeds are quite a chore. So you pick them, but look. Now these potatoes that have popped up here are from last year. I never did harvest this bed actually. And I also planted, like last week I came out and planted a few spuds that were sprouting because I wanted more potatoes in this bed. So we'll see what happens. And you can see in here, can you see all that green? Most of that is maple trees, even though I did rake in this area a bit, but obviously not enough. But then it's right underneath that maple tree. You see how that's a huge tree, and it put out thousands and thousands. And one of the big, you see all that furniture in my yard? Well, I was cleaning my back porch the last couple of days, and it was such a mess. And that little roof there, where I catch the water from the downspouts, full of helicopter seeds and some leaves. Quite a project to clean that off. Anyway, hours and hours actually. I need to get a better way of doing it, but that's life. So looky here, the tomato, the grapevine, and this may be the first time I showed you. I cleaned out around the bottom of it and put some bricks there, kind of designating that as a grape area for that vine, because I found some here, let's see, I found some grapes growing. And the last few days I also found that they were flowering. You know, there was fuzz on that area. So first you get little things, and then it fuzzes. They call it flowering, and then you get the grapes. So I saw some fuzz on some of those. So that means this vine has flowered. At least some of it has flowered. That means we should be getting grapes. Oh, I may not have shown you this. Can you see this? You see this pole? It's a frame. Since that grapevine was worth, noting, I came out and built this frame for it to go up and around. I may have built it too high, but I have great expectations for the vine, I guess. Not this year, but we'll see. See what happens. You see? You could say I'm desperate to get grapes. I did take since I know for sure this is grapes. Well, I'll know for sure when I get the grapes, but they look like grapes. I went and took cuttings. They say you're not supposed to do that in the spring, but I did. I saw a YouTube video about taking cuttings about pretty much any time. So I went ahead and tried, and I've got some cuttings in water to see if they sprout. And if they sprout, I'll plant them out, and then I'll get more grapes. So we'll see how quick that happens. But evidently you can proliferate grapes very rapidly with cuttings. And you can see I've been out here working. Some of my tools just positioned, ready to be grabbed. Well, that's kind of what the backyard looks like. You can see a number of beds that haven't been planted, but then there's a couple of beds that have been planted. And we got potatoes, squash, oregano, cabbages, onions, and pole beans back here. And I'm going to come back and plant some of the melons and some of the cucumbers back here too. So, and over on this side, this area here, those pole beans did come up. I've had trouble growing stuff in this area before, but I did get those pole beans I planted to come up, and I put some fence around it to see how it does. And of course, even up by the fence in that wild area, I got some pole beans to sprout, but then I also have a ton of weeds here. I can walk closer. There's also a ton of weeds. Do you see those pole beans? But look behind there. Well, since I'm right here, oh, there goes some weeds. But look, now that is, you see this one here? That is a Virginia creeper. Not a bad vine, actually. I mean, it doesn't cause you to get all broken out, because if it has 3 leaves, then you know that's a bad vine. That's like poison ivy or poison oak. Like this one here. That is a bad vine. You see them? Right here, I don't want to touch it. That's poison ivy. So as you can see, I've got Virginia creeper and poison ivy right by my pole beans. So that's not good. Now in this area here, sometimes I actually get mushrooms, but it's now crazy hot. And I actually had a ton of mushrooms the other day when I looked over the fence. And then I tried to show them to my nephew. They were all melted away. He mocked me. But I don't blame him. I could just tell him a story. They were those, what kind of mushroom were they? Ink caps. And ink caps you gotta eat immediately while they're fresh. Otherwise they do get all black and inky and ucky, and you don't ever wanna, if you pick them, they have to be fresh, they have to be not inky at all, and you have to eat them that day, immediately. Now you see that bush there? Honeysuckle, that's what it is. Look how big it is. But let's look here. One of my big projects, you see how that's been cut back? Now all through here, all this fence line was, I don't know, 8-10 feet tall. You know, some of the trees are way up there. This is one of the big projects from last week. I cut, well, my neighbor was working on this fence line, so I came out and worked beside her. She on her side, me on my side, and I trimmed this hedge row and these trees. I cut them back, and one of the big things was my mulcher grinder. That's supposed to be a plum tree there. Anyway, came out here and worked and ground that stuff up for a few hours the other day, and here it is. I've got, they were green, a lot of green leaves on them, so you had to, I sent them through the mulcher grinder 3 times, and this is the state of them. And now I don't see any green on them. They're starting to turn brown, but they've been in here a couple of days. But so this will be stuff I put on the garden to suppress weeds and also hold in the moisture. So here, this is the area I was talking about. You can see the ladder, I've been using it. So that roof catches a lot of water when it rains. It comes out and comes into my barrels. But this area in here has been such a mess. So I had to clean it up, vacuum it up, and I still have. Look at these. One day I was thinking I was going to build a greenhouse with these windows, and I never did, but I still got the windows. I got tons of them. I need to fix that bench. So anyway, this is kind of what it's looking like. Now it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so all this stuff will have to be put back underneath here, unless I don't mind it getting wet. The one thing I don't want to get red is maybe the chips over there. And this one here isn't chips. This one is full of, I think, clippings. These are, you can't really tell, but those are the mulched up, vacuumed up seeds from the maple tree. I mean, thousands. I'm not underestimating thousands of seeds this year. So this is a great year for trees, it seems to me. And I think both in the natural and in the spiritual, I think there'll be a lot of people come to Jesus. A lot of new trees being sprouted, or if nothing else, you can say trees are sprouting in people's hearts, because everybody's heart is a garden. You can grow all kinds of stuff in there. So hopefully you are planting some good seeds in your heart. I want to thank those who have watched this video to the end, and anyone who leaves a comment. I appreciate those comments. Very encouraging, and people who give me a thumbs up, I take note of those, and I thank you for those also. So, thanks for watching. Love you now. Bye-bye.